Hey, True Believers, Chris Mack coming at you today with Gotham City Sirens, Issue 1. And I remember when this series first came out, I didn't pay too much attention to it. And boy, do I kick myself for that, because I had to go back when I wanted to get these books, I had to get them in trade. Read the whole thing, and I was like, oh my God, what was I sleeping on? This series was absolutely freaking fantastic when it came out back in the day. This was pre-Flashpoint. And to me, this will always be the true selves of Harley, Ivy, and Catwoman. Everything since has kind of just been, to me, I guess you can say fan fiction. But yeah, the creative team on this book, absolutely fantastic. And I love how the writer, who is Paul Dini, one half creator of Ivy Quinn, Harley Quinn, is able to take all the things that have been happening during this era and kind of bring it all together in this book. So, to kind of understand before we dive into this, the way that Catwoman and Ivy meet up was from their, what happened with them in the Hush series that Jeff Loeb and, was it Jeff Loeb or Scott? No. I might be right. Who cares? And then Grant Morrison's Batman R.I.P., and then the Catwoman run at the time where Selena was hunting down Hush, and he ripped her heart out of her chest. And so all these things that were going on. So Dick Grayson at this point, because this was during the Batman Reborn, so this is when Dick Grayson took over the mantle of Batman and Damian was Robin. So let's go ahead and dive into this now so you have a little bit of backstory on what was happening during this time period. 2 months ago, that psycho Jason Todd put on an armored bat suit and kicked me through a roof of a parked car. This was shortly after my heart was ripped out by another lunatic. Hush. I was stitched back together by the greatest doctors in the superhero community. My restored heart was even rejuvenated by a magic elixir. So why am I still weak as a kitten? And just like that, Paul Dini just brings you up to speed on the battle for the Cal after Bruce was presumed dead after Infinite Crisis. Yeah, I think it was Infinite Crisis. And then we just kind of dive into why that's happening. We get a little bit of humor where Selena's kind of watching over Gotham. We see this guy named Bone Blaster saying how he could just touch somebody and bust their arm. And Catwoman saying, even though I'm weak, I gotta help these people. And so she's doing everything that she can to fight this Bone Blaster guy. And he's just like, oh, I can't wait for my street cred, da-da-da-da-da-da. But before anything else can happen, boom! Look at the way Ivy's introduced. That's enough of that. Catwoman and I don't always see eye to eye. But I'm not gonna watch her be manhandled by some meat sack. That's how you introduce the next part of your player in a story. So here we go. Presenting Gotham City Sirens and Union. Now, the first, well, I guess you could say cameo appearance of the Gotham City Sirens was Detective Comics 850, which, if you've been kind of wondering to get that book, get it, because I just keep seeing the price on that one jump up. Same with these. Anyway, Union, brought to you by Paul Dini, writer, Guillaume March, artist, Jose, and again, if I get your last name wrong, I apologize, Villa Rubia, colors, Steve Wands, letters, and then there's everyone else working on the book. And I just love the use of this green. It's just very kind of like akin to me as of Spawn, the way he would always attack people. Just really great artwork there. And then, of course, we have to get some ad to break your soul a little bit. Now, Ivy and Catwoman talk about teaming up. And she's like, I got a little loft up up on Park Row, I think she says it is. And she goes, this is your idea of patching up differences, because she said, her and the Riddler during this time were at odd ends. She goes, seducing a man and keeping him drugged while you take over his home. Riddler is much more agreeable this way, isn't he? Ivy, I've paid you over $30 million of Hush's money for helping me get even with him. I know, that was fun. And she basically just spins it because she's like, whatever, if I ever need money, I can just seduce whomever I need. And Selena's like, you gave away $30 million. And then all of a sudden, I'm home. Now, before we dive into this part, I want to make it clear that this is Paul Dini, one half creator of Harley Quinn. I know on the latter halves of these post-Flashpoint comics, I've bashed the Quinn comics because they are absolutely terrible. The jokes are flat and dry. But this is how Harley is. I don't like the new Harley because they try to make her too pop culture. They basically have tried to, in my opinion, if yours differs, that's fine. They're trying to make her Deadpool. Fourth wall breaking, zany, that's not Harley. She is airheaded, but she's also, you twist her wrong and she'll blow your face off in that same adorable laugh that we know from Harley and Quinzel. She goes, Kitty, nice to see you up and around again. Just put these tchotchkes anywhere. I haven't picked out my room yet. You're moving in? Yeah, I got lonely with Holly gone. Ivy ran it by Eddie, and he don't seem to mind. And then I just love how the Riddler's just like, whatever you say, Pamela. So it's just, you see everyone just talking, and it's just the horror of what's going on with the Riddler in the background. You're just like, holy shit, this is rough. So Selena says, the three of us have been living on the edge way too long. We're not running from the police, we're fending off some costume whack job. I've noticed certain recurrent patterns in our lives. Gotham is worse than ever. That gives us a choice. We can get out or band together. And again, Harley back in the day, she reminded me of Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls, where Bubbles, she was always kind of the spacey one, but when it was time to act, she was on her side with her sisters, and that's how I always have seen Harley. She goes, super bad girl team up, I like it. Now what happens here is, Ivy, because Ivy saved Harley's life in No Man's Land when we first were introduced to her, Ivy says, we need to talk. She's like, what do you think? Selena's idea is sound, but I don't think she is. What, you mean her heart? I thought she was all healed up. That's what I thought until I saved her from a beating by a third-rate goon. She was moving way too slow and hitting with almost no strength. So even though we kind of get our team, there's always that way of introducing stakes. So I like how Ivy's like, I'm going to go talk to someone. So here we get Zatanna. She's getting ready to take a bath. And I just love how Ivy just boom, pulls her into the water. Sorry for the rough treatment, Zatanna. And she's asking when she healed Selena's heart if she did it correctly or if she intentionally sabotaged her. And this back and forth between Ivy and Z is absolutely hilarious. And you can just see how Zatanna just wants to rip Ivy's face off. Now we get Bone Blaster Part 2. And again, just like how I was talking about with Harley, where she could be, airheaded, but when it's time, the name's Harley Quinn, Skullhead, and the pleasure's all yours. And you just love the artwork here. I mean, look at the way that Gulliam March here just works with the anatomy and makes it so damn dynamic. Now, there's one thing, real quick, before I get into that. In the fight, Riddler is freed from Ivy's, spell. And I just love how Harley's like, bye, Eddie. See you in the funny papers. Consider the plants a gift, love. Thanks for the hospitality. And then Bone Blaster says, so you're really the Riddler, huh? I'm a big fan. Is that right? Sure, you, Two-Face, Joker, all the old school guys, kind of like idols to me. Well, you know what they say. Meeting your heroes is always a disappointment. You're gonna kick my ass, aren't you? Oh my goodness, yes. And just love how Eddie, after being tortured like that, just goes to town on Bone Blaster. It's just a great little way to tie up the whole Eddie arc there. Now, one thing I do want to remind you guys, in Hush is when Bruce revealed his identity to Selena. Now, from what I understand, is after she got her heart ripped out or something along those lines. I didn't read the Catwoman one, but apparently her memory was erased. Now, however, I like how Ivy says, if you're really serious about this all for one stuff, you'll be glad to tell us something that we all deserve to know. And then that's where the first issue kind of starts to end off. And it's just absolutely great. Beautiful storytelling, visual storytelling by the art team. Paul Dini, of course, just kicking ass because think about it. Him and Bruce, Tim, and the rest of the animated team, they reinvented a lot of the characters. I mean, for God's sake, before the animated series, Mr. Freeze was a joke. And when they dropped that episode of Heart of Ice, that's when he was reintroduced as the badass that we know now. The animated series first gave us Harley Quinn, and then she was dumped into the comic books. So seeing him write this book, you know you're not going to go wrong. And every issue that they wrote, it just gives you chills each time. I absolutely loved it, no matter the subject matter. Because there's times where it's kind of fun, kind of light, and then it's very heavy-handed and dark. And each way, they just traversed it very well. And my only bitch is the fact that it's not around anymore, because we had to do Flashpoint, which just kind of really effed a whole lot of things up. So guys, excuse me, too much coffee there. If you've enjoyed this comic book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and see if you can pick up the singles. If not, you may have to go the route that I did and pick up the trades, which is just as good, because then you at least know you have all the issues and all that good stuff. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little, siren bell next to subscribe. That way we can continue upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.